Let's talk about Bitcoin because you put out some pretty interesting, ideas about first when you started looking at it. I think you saw this incredible linear correlation or logarithmic correlation between simply the number of users and the price, regardless of anything else. And I've seen some of the presentations you put out that I think are probably available on your Pantera website, where you tracked simply the adoption rate versus price and found this incredible correlation. And then on the back of that also predicted some potential forward price points for Bitcoin. Can you talk about that idea and then when you first realized that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of reticence about Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies because they don't have cash flows. And I had a fun conversation with a Tiger Cup friend of mine that's a TMT investor, and he said they don't invest in Bitcoin because there's no cash flows to discount. And I was like, well, there's no cash flows to the euro, and nobody thinks twice about trading the euro. There's information about interest rates and current account deficits and things like that help you decide whether you want to be long or short the euro. And that's the same with Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, all kinds of information, how many transactions are happening, how many people are using it. The simplest concept, though, is just supply and demand. As I said, it's going to be a serial killer. It's going to go through all kinds of different use cases. And every year it picks up more people that find another use case, find something they want to do with Bitcoin. And we did publish a table that has the number of people using Bitcoin. And that's gone up an order of magnitude every 2 years. And we're now at about 100 million people using Bitcoin. In 2013, there was about 300,000 people using it when I got started. And obviously, there's only a handful in 2009 when it was released. And the really wild thing is if you then put next to that the price of Bitcoin in each of those 2 years, it has also gone up exactly one order of magnitude, exactly every 2 years. And I've never seen a relationship between two pieces of data that's that crazy in terms of going up 5 decimal points and also maintaining the exact same ratio. The ratio is $200 per million people using Bitcoin. That was true when there's 10,000 people using Bitcoin. It's true at 1 million people using Bitcoin. It's been true at 100 million people using Bitcoin. And that is a framework that makes some sense. The more people that want to use it for whatever they're doing with it, the more it's worth. I found in my time in the industry, the kind of the stickiness rate is massive. It might take people 5 or 10 years to get their head around it, but once they buy Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, they almost never want to sell it. And that's why the price just keeps going up, because there's very few people that ever want to part with it. And every year you try and you convince another cohort of people to come in. So if you extrapolate that out, there's 3.5 billion people on Earth with a smartphone, only a bit more than people that currently use Facebook. If all those people started using cryptocurrency and that relationship held, which past doesn't have to predict the future, but it seems solid, that's $700,000 per Bitcoin. And while I'm not going to say I bet my entire life savings to hit exactly 700,000 on some specific date in the future, it really helps to point out the massive asymmetry of this trade. It's definitely risky. Bitcoin went down 55% over the last couple of months. So there's definitely a ton of risk in the industry, but you really can only lose one times your money in being long something. And if it has the possibility of going up an order of magnitude, it's a good risk-adjusted trade.
Yeah, and the order of magnitude is 10x for anybody who hasn't probably that engineering background or science. Have you ever seen an asset like this? And again, I think at Bankers Trust, you were doing some global stuff. So you really have seen everything. You've been in Tokyo, you traded probably currencies, mortgages, probably equities, everything under the sun. Have you ever seen an instrument like this, or with the volatility, or even with that asymmetry?
Yeah, so I did spend 25 years wandering around the earth looking for trades like this, big disruptions. Also, when I was at Tiger Management, we invested in a lot of big disruptions around the world. And so, I was in Russia when Gorbachev was doing glasnost and invested in Gazprom and some other privatizations, and Argentine farmland and Tesla Motors. And, every 4 or 5 years, something like that would come up. This is just so much bigger than all those. It is, all those things were regional or country specific, some kind of interesting dislocation just in that one country, that one region, and affecting maybe just one market, maybe just the equity market, or maybe just the bond market in Spain when they had their devaluation. So, all those trades, they were great trades, but they were very kind of localized or specific. This is so many different use cases globally, and all of those are literally the biggest things on earth. Wealth storage, gold, even money, M2's under $1 trillion. All of those markets are the biggest markets on earth. So I think it's a once in a lifetime type trade. And that's why, we went all in, and it hasn't slowed down. I really think we have another 10 or 20 years of this. So, I think it is a once in a lifetime trade. And every time I meet some, college kid that's thinking about what to do next, blockchain, I just say, hey, do this. And 3 years from now, if I'm wrong, you did something kind of interesting and, it didn't work, and you move on, do something different. But, if I'm even half right about how important blockchain will be, it's the right place to be. And so, I do think blockchain is the trade of a lifetime.